Did you know that Frankette was technically introduced on April Fool's Day 2019, except back then her character design did look a little different. Frankette was a character that was unlockable for a limited amount of time, and she was mixed between Rabot and Frank. She was also unlockable during the Subway City update. Unfortunately, if you try to unlock her now, you won't be able to. Now, I normally wouldn't do a video on a character that won't stick around, but there are so many questions left unanswered about her. Who made her? Where did she come from? Why Frankette? Why this design? Why add her now? And how does this affect the plot going forward? If you don't know, Subway Surfers is tied to lore in the Subway Surfers animated series, where we follow a group of skater friends, Jake, Tricky, Fresh and Yutani, in Subway City. They manage to make an enemy out of Frank. This guy. Possible cult leader, we don't know yet. Enraging him by accident, of course, as Jake's spray paint tag makes him miss a train, to put it simply, putting Jake on his hit list. And if that's not bad enough, they discover a strange technology that can be used to make a hoverboard that we see in the game. This also lands them on Infinity's radar, another organisation who starts collecting dossiers, or files, on the characters, however only choosing to observe. Now that you're all caught up, or you could just watch the videos I've already made on this, and the series itself, it's all on YouTube, let's talk about Frankette. And why Frankette caught my eye. Firstly, she was unlockable during the Subway City update, which is one of the few times we see Frank in the background of the game. And Subway City is a direct link to the animated series, as that's where it's set. Second is the fact that she's based on the series Frank design. In one of my previous videos we talked about comparing series Frank and game Frank. Parallels that show they might not be the same character, and how when making the series they changed the design to look more like the anonymous mask rather than the cute design we get in the game. And lastly, she's a robot. We know Frank isn't the only member of this bunny cult. In fact, there are at least a couple of other members, some that we've seen. So you're making a character that you want to call Frankette. Now, it's safe to assume that Frankette will be a gender-bent version of Frank, in which you can use one of the designs from the series that you've already made. However, they didn't do that. They went with the design of a robot. So why? Why make a whole new character entirely? What is her purpose to the bunny cult? Well, let's start off with analysing her design. Like, the ears. Unlike the mask, they are their own piece of additional technology and are fully functional. You can see them twist around in game, clearly picking up on sound. We can also assume that this should be saved in some form of file, so that someone else, possibly Frank or one of the other bunny cult members, could listen in. We can also assume that the legs have a purpose as well. If you see these legs before, you probably recognise it in Paralympic runners who use them in races. They are designed so that the user can reach speeds faster than with a regular prosthetic leg. However, it would be unlikely that they'd use this in day-to-day life. So the robot that we're referring to, Frankette, is most likely going to be running a lot. But why? Now, one could argue that she's just the Frankified version of Rabot, and that her character may have no impact on the actual plot. However, I do believe that there is a direct link from her to Infinity, the secret society that we hear so much about. Check out the other videos if you haven't already. Now, the reason I can prove she has a direct link with Infinity is when she was released, because despite being based on Rabot's model, she wasn't released in the Easter update. She was released in the Space Station update, which included boards such as Discovery, Endeavour, and Secret Society. All of them shared the same logo as Infinity. Now, they're also meant to be collecting dossier tokens, which are no doubt a link to the files/dossiers we see uploaded on the characters online. Frankette isn't here to collect magnets or coins, she's here for information. Which would explain why she needs to hear out enemies and run away, so she isn't found taking the information from Infinity's space station, I think. I like to think that she's another hijacked piece of technology from Infinity, since we know that both parties, Infinity and the Bunny Cult, aren't on the best of terms. However, we still see the Bunny Cult using their technology, Infinity's technology. And you can tell how most of the machinery seen used by Frank resembles an Infinity sign. Also how the mask and the sprayed on suit / bow tie looks like last minute additions that could have been made by the Bunny Cult to claim this piece of machinery as their own. And there you have it. And I'm sorry that this video wasn't so Frankette. However, I hope you enjoyed anyway. Subscribe if you want to see more and comment on exactly what you want to see. You guys help me out so much when it comes to making these videos, whether that be just watching the videos or going as far as to making your own theories. So I thank you for that. And I'm also starting up my Discord again with a new theorist rank, which you can get by just talking in the theory section. And it gives you access to the theorist only chat. Comment if you want the link to the Discord and I'll reply with the link as soon as possible. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!